Everybody, thank you for joining us today. We are officially in a new era of the corporate workplace. So, for years, companies have been patching together disjointed systems. But today, what we're going to talk about is a unified approach to workplace experience, or WEX, or WEX. It's that new that we don't know how to say it yet, or we haven't at least agreed on in one way to say it yet. Um, but I say new, it's new because Gartner has formally defined workplace experience as one distinct enterprise software category. And as it turns out, Appspace has been positioned as a leader in their inaugural Magic Quadrant. Easy for me to say. So today, what I'm going to do, I want to show you why this category matters, what it means, why they defined it that way. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to use a unified strategy in your organization with some real world application of what we're going to learn today to drive actual business outcomes. And like the title says, to create a workplace experience that actually works. So just a quick, I'm going to run through quick logistics here. Everyone has been muted just to keep things quiet. We do have a lot of information to get through today. And we want to make sure we can limit those interruptions. We have also disabled any webcams so that we can save bandwidths because, not a spoiler alert, we have a live demo today. So you know how live demos go. The more bandwidth we can use, the better. So we'll save that as well. But even though we don't have those on, don't worry, you don't have to take furious notes. We will be sending the full recording to your inbox afterwards, and we will have time at the end for questions from the audience. So if you do have questions in the in the control panel, you will see a questions pane. You can go in there, add your questions in anytime during the presentation, and then we can get to those at the end. All right, so let's go over what we're going to be talking about today. Let's just set the stage before we jump into it. I'm going to start with talking about the why, and really then talking about why this matters and what's shifting in the market, and then dive into the actual Magic Quadrant from Gartner, just to show you a little bit more about what they found. There's some key nuggets in there I think you're going to like. And then I'm going to hand it off to Will. He's going to be the star of the show today to show us a live demo to show what a unified employee experience actually looks like in practice. And then we're going to wrap it up at the end. I've got some metrics, I've got some initiatives, I've got some go-dos on how to start this for your own organization, evaluate your ROI, and of course, like we said, we will have time at the end for some questions and answers. But I do want to introduce us today, in case this is your first webinar with Appspace. Thanks for joining. My name is David Fleck. I'm the Senior Director of Product and Partner Marketing here at Appspace. I've been here for going on 6 years now. Really, my goal is to connect the product innovation, the things that we're doing with our customers' needs to make sure we're always thinking in a customer-first way. My fun fact here, we both are sharing our music binges. I'm actually going through a Grateful Dead stage right now, diving into them. So I'm a little bit late to it, obviously, but it's been a lot of fun uncovering and discovering their music. So Will, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, David. So I'm Will White. I'm Director of Strategic Workplace Innovation at Appspace. So what that really means in my day-to-day is I work with both our internal teams, product engineering, David and his team, as well as a lot of our partners. So ecosystem partners, technology partners, all the different systems that we integrate with, right, that we tie into for, well, workplace experience. I help facilitate those integrations and again, make sure they're actually useful for both administrators, right, facilities people, professional communicators, and of course, employees just trying to go through their day. So that's what I really focus on. Right now, I've got listed my music binge, that classic chill lo-fi study beats that I think most people are familiar with, trying to lock in, get work done. Typically, it's some form of punk rock, but these days, I'm trying to stay focused, and just having that background noise really helps.
I like it. I will share one fun fact. Will and I both are into ska, punk, And the last show that Will and I went to together, I actually ended up getting knee surgery after the concert. Long story, we won't go into it. That's a story for another day, but there's another little fun fact about your presenters today. All right, I want to talk about this pivot that we're into, what we're seeing here. That's what we're calling a maturity moment here for the workplace. And that's Gartner officially establishing workplace experience applications as a standalone market. Means that the era of treating your guest booking, your comms tools, all of these different individual tools as individual point solutions, that time is dead. And we're marking a shift now towards this workplace experience as a full solution. And it's directly impacting everything that goes into the workplace. That's your real estate, that's your HR technology. Those two things typically aren't connected, but they are now. And your corporate culture, and what that becomes the outcome a lot of a lot of this. So I'm going to break that down a little bit more into what that means. So really what we were looking at and what Gartner was looking at was there was a problem in the market. Go look at your phone or go look at your employees' desktops. They have an app to book a desk. They have an app to book a meeting room. They go into this other tool to go through their calendar. They have a chaotic intranet that they're going through for company news and information. And then, of course, they have Slack or Teams or something like that to find their peers. They're using other tools to run their digital signage and communications. I mean, it's so many different individual software and apps that they have to manage and switch between. And what happens is that causes a lot of friction. It came from a good place. We were trying to provide the tools to our employees that they needed in this kind of dispersed workforce, but it really ended up creating a lot more fragmentation. And that also started to create this, what we call the commute worthiness gap for those that went to the office or when we started going back to the office. The answer was why. I'm sorry, the question was why. Why make the trek back to the office only to get there and realize that, oh, my team was actually working remotely that day? Or the opposite, you get to the office and everybody's in the office that day and there's no quiet place to work. They can't even find a desk. That was what we were seeing, and that's what Gartner was seeing as well. And what we saw was the outcome was just killing productivity. The connection, the friction, the fragmentation, the disconnectedness just drives productivity to a grinding halt at times. And we needed to fix that. And in fact, we've been looking at that for quite a while. This wasn't something new to us. This is a quote from our CEO, Peach Mead, is that we didn't wait for Gartner to define this category. We actually built the workplace experience category. We spent years engineering this unified solution that grew from, to kind of grew to combine that multi-point product model that was fundamentally broken before us. So Gartner's recognition of this category just really to us confirms that the strategy our customers have been deploying is successful and is the right way forward. So love to see that and excited to talk more about it. So we have been saying a lot about the Magic Quadrant. I couldn't go through this without at least bringing it up and showing it once. This is just a snippet from the full report, which we will have a QR code that you can download later. So this is from April 2026 report, their inaugural workplace experience Magic Quadrant. And as you can see, Appspace is positioned clearly up in the leaders quadrant in the top right. The way they do this is the same that they do for a lot of their MQs, is they kind of look at completeness of vision and ability to execute. And so when you place Appspace on those two axes, you see top right. And there's a lot more in here that you can go into with a lot of information. I'm going to pull out a couple nuggets later, and then you can download the full report as well. Okay, that's enough from me. I want to get to the real star of the show today and transition over to Will to get us into a live demo. And I think he's got a little bit of setup here, and then we'll get to that.
Thanks, David. So yeah, before I jump in and do a little bit of a demo, I just want to talk about what actually comes together, right, to create that workplace experience platform. And that's really these three pillars you see here, which is space, communication, and AI. That's what sets a leader apart in that magic quadrant, right? Is the ability to combine all these different aspects of an employee's day-to-day kind of experience, right? The day-to-day life of trying to get their job done, address it all, make it easy. So again, from maybe a space standpoint, right? Bringing desk and room management together with the comm side, together with digital signage, corporate internet, mobile app, right? Those kind of direct to employee comms, whether it's top down, collaborative, even bottom up, depending on how you structure it all, right? Being able to handle all of that and create that seamless experience across the board. And then, of course, having that AI layer, not just layered on top, but actually infused through all that functionality, right? You're not just collecting data, you're not just, running pivot tables and reports. You're intelligently analyzing all the information you're getting on your space, on your comm strategy, maybe in helping both, communicators, administrators, facilities people take action via the AI, but also helping employees, right, achieve what they need to do day to day. So really, again, it's those pillars, it's that combined experience that really creates, well, a good workplace experience, right? Contributes to this new category, and also signifies a proper tool set, a proper platform that's going to enable everything we're talking about. So let's jump into a quick demo. I'm going to share my screen here and walk through just a few elements, kind of an employee's day of the life here, a quick journey. Now, I'm trying to quick this demo quick, right? We only have limited time on the webinar today, so I'm not going to touch on everything. I'm not going to touch on everything in the Appspace platform. I'm not going to touch on everything in workplace experience, right? As a concept, as a category, it would be impossible to highlight everything that goes into that and everything that we can do to support it. But I did want to highlight a couple of things. So just as an example, maybe I'm working from home. That's where I am right now, so true to life. I log in. I want to check the internet, right? See what's going on. I'm being a good corporate citizen. I'm being a little proactive here. I jump into the internet powered by Appspace. And in this case, I actually access it directly from within Microsoft Teams. Hopefully you can tell this is Teams. I've got it in kind of the dark theme, so maybe it's not the standard look, right? But I've got my calls, my messages I kind of catch up on. And then right here embedded within is the intranet. In my case, branded for Appspace. In your case, well, branded for you, right? I see right up here at the top, latest news, there's a company town hall, right? So I'm going to click in, I'm going to read that, view it. I could also be doing this on mobile, by the way, even if I'm not a desk worker, even if I'm not in Teams, right? I might be on my mobile device, maybe I'm frontline, et cetera. But I could read this story. I could see the company town hall actually happening today, later this afternoon. I could see kind of what's going into it. I could like it, I could comment, I could share it with colleagues. Learn everything I need to know about this, right? But hey, that's exciting. Seems like an interesting town hall, the stuff that's relevant to me. So I'm actually going to head into the office and watch the town hall live, right? Maybe be able to talk to my colleagues about it, et cetera. By the way, just to highlight some other really great communication features, I can read this story in my native language or any language I choose. So if I want to instantly view, write a translation, I can. And same thing for listening. Say I'm on the go, right? Maybe I am on my mobile device instead of here on my laptop in Teams. I could actually listen to this story live, right? Including, again, in my native language. So now I want to go into the office. Well, I need a place to sit, right? Obviously, I'm working from home today, so I'm kind of in a hybrid situation. I don't have an assigned seat. I've got a few ways I can do that. One, you'll see here at the right, right next to my audio digest, where again, I could listen to that top story, that latest story. I can see info about my workplace. Not only that, I can see that some of my colleagues are already in the office today. They probably got the news about the town hall before me. So I could simply click join office, right? One click, reserve a spot, and then head in. I could find maybe the exact workplace I want, right? I could even view a map and see what's available, maybe even see where my colleagues are sitting. So for example, if I click in to view that map, I can see what's available and what's not, and I could even search. Like maybe, after the town hall, I'm going to work with my colleague John. I could see where John's sitting for the day, and maybe book the room right next to him there. Right, get a quick reservation, seating limitations, see what amenities, and so on. Now, alternatively, I could even ask Appspace Intelligence. So maybe instead of looking at floor plans and trying to figure out what's where, maybe I don't want to just trust a quick join off instant booking. I could actually ask Appspace to book me a desk, right? Or maybe I want to choose exactly what I want. Again, maybe jump into the full interface, see at a glance who's at the office, and including some of my favorite colleagues like Pikachu here, or book that space directly. Lots of different options. We'll come back to that in a moment, but for now, let me book that desk I was looking at earlier here next to John. So we're going to book that. Getting a little bit of a late start today, but we'll book it for the rest of the day and confirm, right? So now I've got that desk locked in. Now, let's say I make my commute, I get to the office, maybe I listen to some other internet content on the way in. Once I get in the office, just as an example, I might step in the lobby and be greeted by a digital sign, right? Looping through content, kind of letting me know what's going on. Maybe it's just informational like weather, or maybe like the previous slide you just saw, it's actually talking about the town hall later today, or a new office that we're opening, or so on, right? It extends that comm layer not just to the intranet, not just to email, but into the physical space as well. And you'll also notice that as these slides cycle through, there's a QR code in the bottom right. Appspace can automatically tie all that together. Again, this is where workplace experience comes into play. So if I want to learn more about this town hall, if I want to learn more about that, like the environmental initiative on the previous message that was cycling through, I could just scan this and it's going to automatically take me to that full story in the intranet. So I can get all the extra details. I can get links or click-throughs or fill out the form or whatever the case may be. In fact, you can even customize it to send employees to an external website. Maybe it's the announcement of a new partnership, and so you want them to go to see the public-facing website. You can send them that way as well. Super powerful, a way to tie all this together. So I walk in, maybe I see another digital sign. I go up to the desk I reserved, right? And on that desk, there might be a little indicator. As soon as I actually check into my reservation and show up, right, it's going to turn red. It's going to show that that desk isn't available anymore, make it easy at a glance, whatever hardware you might have at the desk, so that there's no confusion about what desk is available and what isn't, whether somebody's booking for home like I did, or they're just showing up to the office and kind of figuring out where to go from there. Now, one other thing, let's say I'm walking through, checking on my desk, but I walk kind of back past another digital sign. Well, it turns out facilities has an issue on their hands. There's an issue with one of the parking lots. They're going to have to close it down, right? It's not going to be available. They're going to send out a notification. Well, again, that's the power of having a workplace experience platform, is when they activate that notification, or broadcast as we call it, that can hit both the physical and digital, right? Again, pulling those two worlds together in the workplace. So here in a digital sign, I might see that immediate update where, okay, content's still looping through, but I see that parking lot C is closed today. Bummer. At the same time, if I jump back and I'm looking at the intranet here, here on the intranet, I've got that notification right here at the top of my screen. In fact, that could have also been sent out as an email, as a push notification on my mobile device, and even as a Teams message or Slack notification. So there's no doubt that people know, hey, don't try to park in parking lot C, it's closed for the remainder of the week, right? So really powerful tool there. Let me give myself a time check here. There's so much we can talk about. One other thing I'll note with the AI tools is those can be used to gather insights, right? So to track engagement rates, track workplace bookings and so on, utilization, but also for an employee. I can ask it to catch me up on stories. So again, it could highlight, hey, there's a town hall today. You might want to go read the full story. It could allow me to book that desk, maybe book in the future. Again, very, very flexible there. Now with that, like I said, it's going to be a brief demo, just touching on some of the elements of workplace experience, but let's jump back to a few of the key topics that we just saw there. Pass the screen back to you, David.
I will take it. There we go. Good. Oh, you muted yourself at the same time.
Oh, there we go. Well, I was sharing. Thanks, David. I've also got a puppy barking in the background, so hopefully that's not too bad. So let's talk a little bit about what we saw. What that is coordinating, right? At least at the surface level, what I was able to touch on in that little bit of time, it's coordinating workplace experience in action, creating a frictionless day, a seamless day in the life of an employee. Again, as David mentioned earlier, it's not switching between 5 different apps, one for intranet, one for instantaneous communication, one for desk booking, one for room booking, one for visitor management. The list goes on. I've seen it. I've talked to plenty of companies that have way too many apps for all these things. It keeps that consistent and seamless. So for example, we were able to not only get the information we need from within Microsoft Teams, but book that space, right? And when we arrive in the office, get even more up-to-date messaging, check into our booking, even get navigation, right? Which is one thing I didn't have time to dig into, but allows you to actually see the route, maybe from the elevator bay to that desk you booked if you're not actually in the office that often. And the result here is that there's no like fragmentation, right? Again, it's not all of these hurdles you have to jump through just to get to where you can attend the town hall, to get your work done, have a meeting. There's no wasted time. You can just jump straight into it. Now, something that I alluded to when talking about that AI layer within workplace experience, but I definitely want to dig in a little bit more, are the concept of assistants and agents. So for example, I mentioned like a booking assistant, right? I want to book a quick desk or a room, or maybe an insights assistant, but we actually give you the power to create custom assistants. So of course, on the Appspace product team, the engineering team, we're building all of these tools for you to use, but we've also given you the tool set itself. So if you want to create above and beyond what we provide, custom assistants within Appspace that have access to all the data and functionality and tool set, but still are limited by role-based access, right? Employees can only do what they're allowed to do. You have that power. So if you want to have like a facility management assistant, an employee onboarding assistant, right? Like a team desk booking assistant, right? All these kind of concepts, you have that power, you have that control right within the tool. If it's not something we hand you out of the box, you can literally just go in, click, 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 type what you want, define the type of assistant, AI tool that you need, and we'll make it happen for you. And then includes maybe even automated workflows. And this is something you're going to see more and more as the year goes on. It's a big focus for us is automation, right? Going from not just, well, we're well beyond this. It's not just a simple chat bot that kind of replies to what you say, but a true assistant that gathers that data, offers suggestion, and takes action, and then ultimately acts as a true agent, right? Taking action directly. So maybe from facilities, maybe bookings, attendance are low for a Friday. So maybe we shut down the unpopulated floors, right? We don't allow further bookings. So that way we keep everybody in one space. We can save on air conditioning and so on. The sky's the limit as far as this sort of thing goes. Another piece of that is workplace orchestration. Now, when we talk about orchestration in Appspace, we mean that in a lot of different ways. That can be orchestrating comm strategies, right? What kind of content, what type of communication, how it's delivered, where it's delivered, and to who, and even where that comms, where that communication is coming from, whether it's Appspace or another source, SharePoint or something like that. But it's also about orchestrating how the workplace works, right? So not just the literal act of booking desks, getting a message out there, but analyzing how did that message land? Was it effective? Did it engage people? How are our spaces being used, right? What desks are overused, underused? What spaces are underbooked, right? A 12-person conference room with 2 people in it. That's where all of the data that Appspace gives you is going to come into play, both with AI-driven insights, right? So simply ask Appspace Intelligence, hey, what are the booking trends the past month, the past year, right? And let it tell you what those are so you can dig in a little bit deeper. Whether that's raw data reports, some people still want that raw data, we give it to you, or custom dashboards, right? So that's kind of what you're getting a peek at here. We provide all that data, we provide some stock dashboards, but you, just like you can create your own AI assistants, can build dashboards that give you the exact data you want out of the system in the exact visualization you want over the exact time frame. So at a glance, you can always see what's relevant, not just what we think is relevant, although I think we know a thing or two, but exactly what you want to know, right? Exactly what you're required to report on, what you're responsible for. You can create those dashboards, those assistants, those reports that are going to give you the data you need to eliminate, right, guesswork. So instead of guessing your real estate needs, your space needs, your comm strategy, you can balance, right, with that data and those insights. Balance hybrid and full-time worker ratios, optimize your design, figure out how many big versus small conference rooms or solo spaces or desks you need. And then of course, track engagement too, right? When we publish a new HR message, does that really hit with the employee base on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, afternoon, morning, right? You've got that data and all the tools to pull that out. So pulling that all together, what's the big takeaway? Well, Gartner actually summarized the core value of workplace experience of everything we're talking about really, really well in their report. I'm actually going to take the time to read it word for word here. WEX applications enable greater focus on core responsibilities, which translates into a heightened productivity and more effective collaboration across teams. So again, it allows both kind of admins, right, communicators, facilities, et cetera, to get things done easily, to manage the workplace experience easily in one tool. And it allows employees to do the same for themselves, right? Manage their own workplace experience in one tool set, which frees up time for all the actual important stuff. It removes that administrative tax of simply going to the office, right? Is the commute worth it? So that people can focus on doing their actual work, which is huge. I've been saying that for as long as I've worked at Appspace, which is quite a long time, not just because this category exists now, but the more we can enable people to just get to work, the happier we're all going to be, and more productive too. With that, I'm going to pass it back to you, David.
Yeah, thanks. Really great stuff. Love seeing all that. The AI tools, the assistants, and all of that is really cool. Building your own custom assistants, I've seen some really great things with that. So I can't wait to see how far we go with all of those. So I do want to talk a little bit about the future. Speaking of going far with everything that's coming out, Gartner is making their own projections of the future of where we're going to go. And they project right now that in the next 2 years, we will see a shift that by 2028, 40% of large enterprises will shift to a space as a service model. That definition might change a little bit between organization. It might mean something different to your organization, but a lot of what they're talking about, I think in general, is this idea of these adaptive workplaces, workspace space, where your workplace and the workspaces in there are no longer a static space that's used for one activity only. And so you must be able to shift as employees' work styles shift, as attendance goes up and down in the office, as their work from home changes to work in the office and back. So if you aren't building a unified foundation today, and by that I don't just mean a physical foundation, while that's definitely a big part of it, what we also need to be building is the data foundation. And Will was just alluding to that earlier on getting those data, the insights, the dashboards. That's the foundation to really understand what your employees need and how to build the workplace experience around their needs, which will then lead to the productivity, the culture, the things that we're trying to establish for our employees so that our organization can be successful as well. So a little look at the future there of what Gartner is predicting and how it might think about how that might apply to your organization. And one thing I will say too is that workplace experience is something that not a single person owns, not a single function. It doesn't. There isn't a single function that owns workplace experience. It is a combination of a lot of different people across your organization, and we need to be thinking of it at that level, not just at a single point solution level. So if maybe you're saying, I don't own the space, I don't own the internet, I don't own comms, well, that's fine. You can work with what you own, but then go seek out the leaders that own that other part of the workplace experience and start working together at a much higher level, at that workplace experience level, and you'll start to see how all of these things come together. In fact, if you kind of look at it here in some initiatives, you think about space management, all right? The impact that Appspace can have on that initiative is reduction in unused space. I just heard a story anecdotally that a customer of ours was headed for a remodel in their space. But they looked at the data and they found that they could free up a lot of unused space. And that alone, by using the data that Appspace was providing to them, that meant they didn't have to do the remodel. They freed up that unused space, and that paid for Appspace plus more just with that realization. So that the cost savings are true, and for them, the real estate cost savings. You're looking at employee productivity. Maybe that's what you own. And what Appspace can help there with the orchestration, a lot of what we were talking about before, is reducing some of these manual processes into getting some of your work done or finding places to work. That is going to reduce the time spent on those manual processes, and then that means they can focus more on their core responsibilities, which is going to increase your employee productivity and again, your organization's successfulness. Operational efficiency, maybe that's what you're in charge of. Well, what Appspace is going to help with is some of that automated, for example, here, visitor and room check-ins, but we can automate so much more. And what that's going to do is slash some of the administrative burden from your facilities teams, for example, and that is going to free them up as well. And the last thing here I just want to highlight is maybe you just have an initiative to increase employee engagement. Well, one of the things that Appspace can help with is reaching 100% of your mobile and your frontline workers, which for some organizations is up to 80% of their employees. And they oftentimes are overlooked. And it's easy to get in front of those that sit in front of a desk all day. It's not as always easy to get in front of those that are out in the field or don't have a laptop or a desktop that they're always sitting behind. And what that's going to do is by reaching them all, you're going to create that unified corporate culture, which again is something that we're all striving to do in our workplace experience. So just a quick thing here before we get to just a couple of questions, a little bit of an action plan for you. I'm taking 4 steps. This is all you have to do. And again, do it in the function that you own, but then talk to others as well. Audit your current tech. Ensure that your comms tools meet the needs of your employees, the space management tools, the bookings tools. Are they actually reaching your employees? Are they meeting the needs, including your frontline and mobile workers? And then after that, stop buying a lot of siloed tools and start thinking about unifying. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's one software that can rule them all, although there are a lot that can do a lot for you. But like Appspace, where we have a unified platform that all of our products sit on, that is what you can do is you can start to unify and connect the tools that you do have, reduce the number of point solutions for a more unified experience. Will brought up a lot of AI that is built throughout Appspace, and a lot of the tools you see today have the same thing, but scrutinize what you're using. Don't just buy AI tools because they're fun. They can do a lot of great fun things. They really can. But look first at what business outcomes, what challenges you're trying to solve, and then use AI to do that for you so that you're basing it on those actual outcomes, not just something fun and flashy and new. And the last thing I would say is go do a pilot for insights. Go build the data set, run AI, use that, but then you can find out where do you need to optimize, what challenges do your employees have, and how do we start to earn that commute so that when they do come in, it's for a good reason to be more productive. So again, thanks everybody for coming today. The full Gartner report can be downloaded here. So if you can scan the QR code, our colleague Josh has also just put it into the chat box so you can download it there. In there, you're going to get a deep dive into the vendor positionings, the technical requirements, and the real core market trends. Some of those nuggets about the future of what's shaping the digital workplace experience is going to be in there. So lots and lots to dive into, more so than we could have covered today. All right, I did promise that we would get to a couple questions. I know we're running close on time, but I do want to get to a couple questions that came in. So let me pull that up. First things here. Well, this one might be easy for you, Will. We already use Microsoft Teams heavily for everyday work. How does that integration with Teams go for desk and room bookings? I think you showed that a little bit, but can you touch on that just a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So high level, right? We are a team certified app. So Appspace's tool set, intranet, booking platform, et cetera, can be embedded right within Teams. The management Teams admin center, I mentioned before, completely branded. So gives access to everything Appspace does, all that functionality right within Teams to employees to book a desk, book a room, book a space. That even includes spaces that might not be in Exchange, might not be in Outlook in the Microsoft ecosystem. We can still use Appspace to book those right alongside maybe a traditional conference room that does show up in Outlook, right? So a lot of flexibility there. Extends into notifications and messaging as well, which I think is critical because a lot of us live just like the question asker, live our day in Teams. So notifications, hey, your reservation's confirmed, or it's time to check in, or maybe the organizer moved it or something like that. your visitors arrived, right? They've checked in. Here's their picture. I can get that notification directly within Teams. Same thing with critical messaging, like the parking lot message I demoed earlier. So I think that's important too, right? Is not just having the tools accessible, but actually getting that information front and center in Teams, which is where, I mean, honestly, that's where most of us pay the most attention, right? Because that's where those most critical messages are going to be coming in.
Yeah. Nice. Great. I'm going to go just one more, and I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question. We will follow up with you. So, Will, you mentioned agentic AI. So it says in here, does the platform actually automate space adjustments on its own, or does it just give you recommendations?
So the answer is yes, but that's a continuous journey, right? So today, it does analyze the spaces, it analyzes utilization for space adjustments and so on, and will make recommendations that it can then take action on those, whether that's for actual facilities managers or teams just trying to arrange who's sitting where or whatever. And then as we move forward into the rest of the year, you're going to see even more expansion upon that agentic capability. So not just the here's what's happening, here's my recommendation. Do you want me to do X, Y, or Z, Mr. Administrator, Mr. and Mrs. Administrator, but actually defining those rules to have agents kick in automatically. So maybe when a visitor checks in, an agentic AI agent automatically, customizes a separate message just to that visitor via email, or maybe it does automatically monitor utilization and kind of wind down floors or neighborhoods when there's just not going to be enough population. So why support that area? So you can see that more and more of those kind of automated background agentic functions as the year progresses.
Nice. Great. Well, I know we're at time here. Sorry if we didn't get to your question. Like I said, we will follow up and we will have the recordings available for everybody. So thanks again for joining. Thanks to you, Will, for bringing us through, making it real in a real live demo. That takes a lot of courage on one of these things to get through one of those. So again, everybody, we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you for joining today. Have a good one.
Everybody.